Yes, people, Ricky here from Behind the Bars TV. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about IPPs, and the IPP is an indefinite sentence for public protection, which is a 99-year sentence. But the reason why I'm talking about this sentence today is a lot of you will know, who's been following my channel and following my journey, that I myself am an IPP. And I'm currently on license, which is a 99-year license. And yesterday, it was up in front of the Justice Secretary, and it was up in front of the government deciding on whether or not to re-sentence IPP prisoners. And this has been ongoing for the past 6 months, I believe, where it's been brought to the government's attention and they've been asked to re-sentence IPP prisoners. Now, I think this has had quite a lot of in-depth look at by the government, and it's all down to, again, Dominic Raab, who, in my opinion, is a coward, and he just hasn't got the arse to do something about this, even though he knows that the IPP sentence is wrong. He has the power to, which it says in the papers and in the report, to wrong this right. To right this wrong, but he still hasn't done it. And it's been up 2 seconds. Let's read this here. A report by the Cross-Party Justice Committee published last year said people stuck in prison under the now abolished imprisonment for public protection scheme should be resentenced. But in the deliberation, have went on and they've said that they won't be resentencing the IPP prisoners. They won't be changing the 10-year license. Well, it's a 99-year license, but after 10 years, you can apply to have your license removed 10 years after your first release. And what they were trying to do was get that license reduced to 5 years, so they had the chance of getting off your license after 5 years. But that was also rejected. And you've got to have been out of trouble for 5 years to get off your supervision. So people like myself, I don't know where I actually stand, as in when they're saying that you've got to have 5 years before your supervision can be removed, 5 years in the community without having any trouble. But they say if you've been 10 years since your first release, you can apply to the parole board to have it chucked. Well, not chucked, but have it discontinued. But where does that leave people who have been recalled, like myself, back to prison? I've been back out 2 years. Does that mean I have to do another 3 years, even though I can apply every year? There's just so many unanswered questions. But the people that I sincerely feel sorry for are the lads that are still stuck in prison. Because this IPP is an absolute headache. It's a nightmare. It's an ongoing nightmare that just never ends. I've been on probation for 13 years now. It was 17 years ago, nearly 18 years ago, when I committed my offence. And I'm not saying I didn't deserve prison. I'm not saying I didn't deserve my time for what I did. Of course I did. All of us did. But the IPP, young men in the teenage years and 20-year-old like myself, when we committed these offences, when we were young, stupid, immature, and we just didn't have any sense of where direction or anywhere we were going. And it's not until you get into your later years when you're mature and you start seeing things in a different light. But yet we're stuck with this for the rest of our lives, or until the parole board sees fit to scrap it or discontinue it for the lads that are serving them. But the lads that are still in prison serving them, these are the ones that I feel so sorry for. And if any of you watching this have got friends, relatives, families in prison serving IPP sentence, some of them been 16, 17, 18 years in prison of relatively small tariffs, please keep an eye on your family members, because there's been over 70 people on IPP who's committed suicide in prison. And the numbers are rising all the time. But even me out in the community, I wasn't pinning my hopes on anything with getting resentenced or anything, because I didn't really think it would happen anyways. But I did think that would give people a little bit of hope. But everybody's hopes have been dashed again. This morning it was on my mind a lot, but I was thinking more so about the lads that are stuck inside when they're getting this news, because a lot of them would be pinning their hopes on it, thinking we're going to get resentenced, this is our chance, we're going to be released, but it's just not happening. And now, like I've just mentioned, all morning I've been thinking about it, thinking about this license, thinking about the IPP. It's just brought everything back again, realising that we're on this sentence and we're stuck on this sentence. But even though you're living a crime-free lifestyle, you're doing good, everything you're doing is good, it's still stuck on your back like a ton of weight, holding you down, dragging you back. You can't move forward, because once you're out here in the community, you're stuck with a dozen license conditions. I can't go on holiday. My kids keep asking us, they're wanting to go away, they're wanting to go on holidays. And even though it's been 13 years since me first released from prison, I got recalled for a car offence, but I can't go abroad, I can't go on holiday. I've got 4 children, I can't take them away. They keep asking us why. I explain to them, but it's still, they can't understand it. So it's things like this. Like I say, my license conditions, I can't even get in a car and drive it without notifying probation of the number plate and everything. I think I'm still on MAPA 2, and it's just an ongoing nightmare. I did have a little hope that they would maybe re-sentence each and everybody individually, which they should do, because there is people that's still in prison that's a danger, and obviously they couldn't just release them. But the way that it was all put together for what they would do, they would try and re-sentence everyone individually. But like I said, the lads in prison that were pinning their hopes on this, they're going to be feeling so much despair at the minute, because I know a lot of them would have pinned their hopes on this thinking this is my time out, but it's just not happening. So if you've got a loved one in prison, I know there's people who I've spoken to, maybe following my channel, they've had relatives that were serving IPP and they could no longer go on and they committed suicide, which is absolutely horrendous. It's horrendous for the families having to be stuck out here listening to what's happening with these IPPs and not understanding it and thinking that it's down to the, like, blaming the individual themselves, saying, why aren't you coming home? But a lot of these people are suffering severely with their mental health. If you've been watching my channel, I've just done a podcast with Joe Grundy a couple of weeks back. If you want to go back and have a look at the previous videos, and we're talking about his brother Martin. And Martin has been in about 17 years now, and his mental health has absolutely deteriorated, and he's not getting any help. They keep putting him back, knocking him back, but they're not giving him any help. In the meantime, he's coming up for another hearing, and he's getting knocked back again because they haven't given him the help he's needed, because they haven't got the resources inside prison. So what else are they going to do? They're just going to let these lads and lasses rot until they give in and take their lives, or they've actually lost the plot altogether and they end up in a nut house. It's just not on. But I wanted to bring it to the attention of everybody and trying to get a bit more limelight on this for the IPPs, because a lot of people haven't heard of the IPP, even though it got abolished over 10 years ago. About 11 years ago it got abolished, 2012. And 11 years later, they're still not doing anything about it. So these lads, there's one that I was just reading up, he's been in 18 years off a 4-year tariff. So what's going to happen now? What's going to happen if he keeps getting knocked back? Is he going to do, could he do 40 years off a 4-year tariff on a sentence that was deemed inhumane by the government themselves? Dominic Raab just hasn't got the bottle, to put it bluntly, to get this removed and get everyone re-sentenced. And yes, I know, like I've mentioned, there is people that deserve this sentence. There is serious offenders that hurt children. There's really bad predators on this sentence, and I understand why it's so difficult to do something about this. But these people that are deemed a risk, and they are a risk, and you know they need to be kept in prison, then when you resentence everybody, keep these ones on the IPP. You don't have to scrap it all together. Just go through it and resentence everyone individually. That's what needs to be done before a lot more of these lads and lasses commit suicide because they've got no hope. It's just absolutely outrageous. But I will be shining more light on this because I'm going to do podcasts with some more families of IPPs. And if you keep watching my channel, I'm going to be doing a lot more on this. And if there's any of you watching this who are serving IPP out in the community like myself, and you're doing good things, but yet you've still got this dragging you back, please come on to my podcast and have a chat with us, and we'll get this in the limelight. We'll get more people talking about it, and we'll see what else can be done about it, because the more recognition it gets, the more things might happen in the future. Because it said in the report, or not actually in the report, but someone had said afterwards that, 2 seconds, I'll just read up here because I've got to read up. Sir Bob Neill, a Conservative MP and chair of the Justice Committee, said the government had missed an opportunity to right a wrong that has left nearly 3,000 people behind. So this is how many people still incarcerated on the IPP. 3,000 people. And some of these have never been released. They've been in since they were 16, 17-year-old. They're now in the 30s and they're still not getting out. There's just no justice in this whatsoever. He also went on to say, well, you're not only disappointed with this government response, but genuinely surprised. He said the committee recognised that addressing this issue would not be easy. That's why we recommended that a small time-limited committee of experts be set up to advise on resentencing exercise. So there is a way to do it, and they know they've put things in place so they could do it. And Sir Bob Neill, the Conservative MP, went on to say this, saying that this was their opportunity to right a wrong. And Justice Secretary Dominic Robb said the government had rejected resentencing as it could lead to the immediate release of many offenders who have been assessed as unsafe for release by the parole board, many with no period of supervision in the community. Well, he's full of shit, because that wouldn't happen. That's not the way they wanted it to work. We're not just going to say resentence them and let them out. He's just twisting things to look good for himself in the public image, or for the public image. So Peter Dawson, the director of the Prison Reform Trust, said the government should be thoroughly ashamed of this wholly inadequate response to a serious cross-party attempt to right a terrible historic wrong. He said the blanket refusal to consider resentencing the prisoners suggests we have a Ministry of Justice in name only. The inadequate response from the government means that any future Justice Secretary will have to revisit the report recommendations. Dawson said, in this bleak moment, we must keep alive the hope that a more statesmanlike approach will prevail in the end. So hopefully, I don't know what they might be trying to say is there, hopefully, once the next government takes over, which hopefully will probably be Labour, because they're going to be a lot better than what these shitheads are that are in now. But I think that's the only hope for them now. Obviously, when a new government comes in, they might look at it differently and try and do something again. But again, there's just no hope, because what is it now? What have they got to look forward to now, these prisoners that are stuck in prison with no hope or anything? The Justice Committee report also called on the government to tackle the issue of recall merry-go-round, as almost half of current IPP prisoners have been recalled to custody after breaching licence conditions known for being partially stringent. So there's 1,434 IPP prisoners on a recall, half of which is in. There's 3,000 IPPs in custody. Nearly half of them are on recalls, and a lot of them are on recall for missing probation appointments, being late going back to hostels. They've never committed another offence. They've not been charged with anything, but one of these minor licence conditions has been breached and recalled back to prison. Once you're in prison, you've got to fight to get back out. You're back stuck in that situation, because you've got to think about it, where you're on a wing with another 100 prisoners. There might be only 1 or 2 years who's IPP. And these wings that you're on could be quite volatile. There's other prisoners, you've got 100 different personalities, but you're the one who's got to watch what you're doing, be careful of every move. If someone comes and tries to target you or attack you or whatever in prison, you've got to think very carefully about what you do, because even though this other person's coming to attack you or whatever, and you try and defend yourself and you've used violence, you're the one who's going to get a 2-year knockback because you've used violence on someone else. Whereas this person that might have been off their heads on drugs or whatever, who's come and started on you, gets out on his release date without nothing, but you're stuck behind and you could be back in there for years again, and you've only been recalled for what? For missing an appointment or something, or being late, getting back to your hostel or whatever. And this is the merry-go-round that's happening with the recall, and it's absolutely outrageous. But Shirley De Bono of the IPP Committee in Action Campaign Group said she feared that the mental health of prisoners would deteriorate as a result of government inaction, which with research showing high levels of self-harm and some suicide among IPP prisoners, exactly like what I've just mentioned to you. But this was the last chance, this was the last hope, and if they snatch this hope away from them, they see themselves as being incarcerated for the rest of their lives. This is what Shirley has said. If they don't resentence the IPP prisoners, there's nowhere else to go, even for campaigners. What do we do? The likes of Shirley De Bono, Donna Mooney, these ladies have all been petitioning for us to try and get something done, because Shirley has a son who's IPP and he's actually back in prison on a recall. Donna Mooney's brother was IPP and he could no longer take it and he ended up committing suicide. And these are the type of things that's happening, and these are the ladies that are campaigning for us lot. So these need some recognition and they need some praise. So thanks to Shirley and Donna, and there's a couple of others as well, but I think these are the main ones that are petitioning and campaigning for us lot. But see what happens next, whatever the next step is. But I think this was the final thing, the final bit of hope that that could have shone a bit of light on this IPP. But 2 seconds. And Dominic Raab said the government had already planned a review of its IPP action plan and had now asked the Chief Inspector of Probation to carry out an independent inspection on the proportionality of prisoner recall. He went on to say, I have no doubt that the refreshed action plan, when finalised, will be a strong driver to build on past achievements and further provide the best possible opportunities for those serving an IPP sentence to progress towards a safe and sustainable release. And that's what Dominic Raab has went on to say. But I think that's all I've got to say on that for now. Hopefully it'll bring a bit more limelight on it and a lot more people will understand what's actually going on with these IPPs, and something hopefully will happen in the future. Nothing's going to be happening in the next couple of years because of all this rejection, but we've still got to have hope, and let's spare a thought for the people still stuck inside, campaigning to get out. Hopefully they can find some peace in themselves and try the best to get out and do what's got to be done to get out, because it's no life stuck in that place on this sentence. But also to all the rest in peace to all those IPPs that have committed suicide that could no longer go on. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.